Wow, we are just flying through these sessions, but time flies when you're having fun. So we just had a super valuable session with Alec about getting your very first sale. But now we're going to take it to the next level, to the 10th, 50th, 100th, 10,000th sale and beyond. And who better to do that than Mandy Dobosenski? Now, Mandy, you are a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur. What does that mean? What have you been up to?
Well, once upon a time in 2011, I thought it would be a great idea to start a cupcake business while working full-time in HR. And while I only did that for a couple of years, that did lead me to the entrepreneurial world and how much I loved it. So I got started with Etsy in 2017, actually with handmade products, and then in 2022 discovered the world of print on demand and the ability to design as much as I wanted to with never having to touch a single product, and I was hooked, obsessed, everything in between. And so now I continue to do that and focus there for all the entrepreneurial things that I do, and was able to maintain top 1% with Etsy. So it's been a fun journey.
I think POD definitely is one of those things. If you get hooked and obsessed, it's a good way to describe it.
Yes.
And it can lead you to the top 1%. But of course, you didn't do that just by throwing spaghetti at the wall and praying that it sticks. How did you find such success?
One of the quotes and almost mantras that I've always carried with me, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there use it as well, is a quote from actually Tony Robbins, is that success leaves clues. And so a big part of that is really paying attention to what others are doing, what's working, and then piecing those clues together to find my own version of success and things that I want to work on and grow and build and really see that opportunity out there.
Mm-hmm. So at this stage of the journey, you've gotten your first sale, which in itself is huge, deserves a giant pat on the back, but we don't want the momentum to stop there. We want to keep going and building. How do we do that?
And that's a great place to be in, because you're starting to see those little clues of what's working, right? So your mission now then is to really keep that momentum going to reach that 100 sales and beyond. Because once that momentum starts, then you start to really see that excitement build, and you'll have even more to learn from.
Mm-hmm. And so you've broken it down for us in kind of 3 really easy steps. Can you dive into these a little bit?
Yes, I really see it as kind of 3 main areas. We identify those clues of success that are out there, then we intensify or double down based on those clues and what's working, and then we focus on then expanding our reach. And so if we think about identifying those clues of success, let's take a look at a listing, and let's say it's our first or second listing that sold. And what we do is we reflect on that conversion from that first sale. So what niche was it in? Obviously, bird nerd. So bird lovers or campers who love outdoors or like artistic outdoor drawings. What product was it? It's a camping mug and fits in really with kind of that camping vibe. What's the design and style? What was the mock-up? Was it a lifestyle mock-up like this, where you see things going on in the background to set a scene? Or is it a white background? Those are all going to be little things that contributed to getting that first few sales, and those are the clues that we pay attention to. And so then once we've seen that, we take a look at other areas of our shop. And we can do that easily in Etsy through our shop manager by turning on our individual listing view so that you can see those stats in the first 30 days. So are you getting visits and favorites on other listings in your shop? Visits are going to be clues that your listings are showing up, right? And that people are clicking on them. This means that you're getting some visibility with your SEO. And favorites then are going to be your clues that there's interest in what you've created. And so again, these are going to be your first early signs, even if you've only had a sale or two, that you can potentially focus your attention on when you are creating new designs and products or themes that you can at least leverage and potentially start to expand further into. Mm-hmm. So then if we want to look outside of our shop, we can look for trends in the marketplace where we can leverage those external clues of success. So are there trends or design styles in a particular niche or for a particular product type, for example? On Etsy, you can do this by looking at bestseller badges. I also like to look at popular now badges because Etsy is telling not us, the sellers, but customers. They're trying to drive that interest. So those are clues that those listings are selling. And I like to look for what I call the little red magic words, which means if you click into the listing, you'll see in the top right corner of that listing where there's in demand or in carts. And again, those can be even early signs before there's even a bestseller badge that there's interest and that customers are buying those things actively. We can also look at trendy shopping sites, can be another one depending on your niche. Look for new arrivals on shops like that, because then you can see potentially emerging color palettes or different design styles that might be upcoming trends, because they're going to know about them probably a lot longer before I ever will. And then finally, niche shopping sites. So for example, with our bird nerd, camping theme, we might look at Eddie Bauer, for example, or REI, depending on where you live and what's around and what customers might be shopping at in your niche. But those are going to be great places for you to look at bestseller filters that most websites have. And then you can see, again, what customers in that particular niche are actively interested in and buying from there to draw inspiration. And so my favorite little cheat, ChatGPT, we all know it and love it. I like to use that you can ask it questions about these sites, but you can also prompt it with some interesting things too about your niche to learn more.
And so we actually have an example up here. So we're going to ask ChatGPT, and this is a really good hack because some people, they might not know where to begin researching. If you really are struggling to figure out where to start in the marketplace or what other niche shops to look at, go to ChatGPT, ask it all the questions. Just be a little bit specific with your prompt, and it's going to give out some great ideas. So we're going to tell ChatGPT, pretend that you're a female millennial who is an avid lover of birds. Okay, can you tell me what's trending right now? And it's going to give us an entire list of ideas. Okay, so it's going to think for a little bit, but right away we already see eco-conscious, bird watching. So we've got a ton of ideas. Bird-friendly gear. Okay, again, eco-friendly. Bird-themed home decor. This could be a good one for POD, yes. Bird patterns, kind of colorful wallpaper ideas. So community bird watching groups, that's an idea for a target audience. So
definitely. And group listings do awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Bulk sales.
Yeah.
So if you really don't know where to start, ChatGPT can actually be an excellent tool for inspiration and ideas.
Exactly. And ultimately, we're looking at, in all of this, what does the data tell you? Look for those clues. What are those little clues? And if you pay attention and you do this consistently and you're regularly looking at those things, you'll start to see the clues. You'll start to see some trends and themes along the way the more you do it. And so then my favorite little hack as I'm doing this so that, I can continue to search and draw inspiration is I like to screenshot things when I find them. Think Pinterest inspo board, but for trend boarding. And what I do with those screenshots is I drop them into Canva or wherever you do your designing, essentially just a big old empty white space, drop them in. It can be things like text placement or color combinations that you see that look appealing. But essentially what you're doing is you're building this from this trend research, you're building and collecting this information so that then when you're ready to sit down and design, you're not drawing a blank. You've got tons of inspiration to start piecing together and pulling together, readily available, not to copy, never ever to copy, but again, a collection of ideas where you can have that inspiration so that you have more design ideas and can keep building that volume so that you can create something new and unique while you're out there building more listings, which leads us, of course, to our next one, which is Intensify and really building out on what's working. So we're doing this based on the clues that we're seeing as we're doing our research, looking at our own shop and the data, as well as what we're seeing in terms of what's out in the marketplace. And on your website, building out could look different. It might be less of a product focus and more of targeting your specific customers, asking your customers what interests them, or thinking about complementary products. If you had a mug that sold really well, maybe sweatshirts would fit in really well. Or we saw home decor. That could be a potential product line that you could look at. And then when you're in a marketplace like Etsy, creating more listings based on these clues and the research and the demand that you're finding and what customers are actually buying and looking for to create more opportunities to be found, that is where having more out there and really what I call infiltrating the market, as you see that and doubling down on what's working, having, even a dozen more listings out there for that niche or for that design style, like we looked at the very beginning when we're kind of studying what's working, make more like it. You could also, look at that for a sub niche or, what is something that's adjacent, because those can all be great for testing and experimenting, especially in a marketplace. It's great to be able to build that data. And so you could experiment then with design styles on 3 to 5 related niches or sub niches. And when we think about adjacent niches and kind of what is that and how do we really think about that, I like to think of it like a tree, right? So if we have our initial theme as maybe outdoors or bird watching, we think about how can we branch off from that? What's not exactly maybe the same customer, but maybe someone who's also interested in similar things or might be using similar keywords when they're running searches and looking for items. So if we had, outdoorsy type camping things, we could branch off into fishing as a niche or hiking. We could look at even travel, which is very different from camping, but there's going to be some similarities potentially out there that we can leverage to continue to build and grow. Basically, you're looking at the baseline, you're looking at that trunk of the tree as your baseline of what's working, and you're building and intensifying from there. There's no magic number for listings. I get asked that all the time. There's no magic number, but definitely balance quality of designs and listing while balance the quality with the quantity as well, because again, Etsy is a marketplace. That volume can help you, especially on the data side of things. But don't just create volume for the sake of volume. It definitely needs to be with intention, based on those clues and based on that research. So that then, as we are doing this identifying and intensifying, we can then lead into expanding. And that is really about getting more eyeballs on your listings, because more eyeballs obviously means that there's more opportunities for it to potentially reach the right person. And I like to think of it really as kind of like an Etsy growth cycle, right? And it creates a snowball effect, because if we're getting more views, we're getting more eyeballs. That means we're getting more data, more things that we can see on that shop manager with the visits and the favorites. And as we see that, we can make better decisions, right? Because as we're seeing what's working, we're making more of what's working based on that early data. Those better decisions then lead to more sales lead to more reviews. You got to see where I'm going with this.
Snowball effect.
More reviews help to improve your ranking on Etsy, which we know is so important in the ever elusive algorithm, right? That ranking helps to improve your sales velocity. And ultimately, like you said, it's a snowball effect. And so the faster you're able to move through that cycle, the faster you're able to start really seeing that growth, and you'll have more information to keep going through that cycle of seeing what's working, make more of what's working, get more traffic. But really your focus should definitely be on those first two, that identifying and intensifying, and paying attention to the clues in the data, as well as practicing your design skills by regularly going through that process, because layering in additional traffic then will then help to really compound those first two efforts. And that's ultimately what leads to the growth. When it comes to more eyeballs, obviously there's a few different ways to do this. Some are more hands-off and some are a little more hands-on. When we think about hands-off, certainly that's going to be things like Etsy ads, for example. And as a new shop, one of the benefits of that can be to, again, drive more traffic, get more views, so you get more data. And then, of course, Facebook ads, if you are focused more on like a website, for example. And then when we think about hands-on, these are going to be a bit more labor intensive and in and of themselves can have a learning curve. So things like social media, starting an email list, leveraging influencers and micro-influencers can be a great way to do that as well, because they're going to have their own trust and loyal followers with them. But, having those collaborations can help you leverage that and get more eyeballs for the right people as well. And that's ultimately the goal of this, is to find the right audience, understand who they are, get your listings in front of them, watch for those little clues, watch for things that you can identify, and then build off of that so that you can continue to grow.
One thing I'd like to mention is that, I think some people, especially with Etsy, they get a little bit impatient. They post this listing and then they're thinking the next day, next 3, 4, 5 days, like, where are the views? Where are the visits? Why isn't anybody coming? The Etsy algorithm, it does take some time to kind of get your listing out there, to figure out what your listing is, what your SEO is, what you're selling, and to get eyeballs on it. Now, if you are a little bit impatient, I think this is where Etsy ads can be really useful, right? You can get those eyes on your products faster and get some of that information faster, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing, is Etsy ads, you can turn them on. It is a bit of an investment, obviously, especially early on as a new shop. But getting that information can be so important. And you might get the opposite. You might have no results from those Etsy ads, but that in and of itself can be a result, because if you're not getting those visits, if you're not getting those clicks, you're not getting favorites, that can be a sign, especially if you've had them on for even 30 days, that can be a sign that maybe you're not quite hitting the right audience. Maybe you need to continue working on your design. It doesn't mean you should stop. It means that continue to work through that process, continue to go through that cycle of looking at the clues, looking at what's out there, go back to the marketplace, look at what people are buying, compare your listings to that and say, why would someone want to choose mine over those? And continue to go through that iterative process, because you'll continue to get better and better along the way. But that data will be extremely helpful in seeing that, so that okay, if this isn't working, maybe let's turn off ads on those and let's try something different. And then you can kind of go through that cycle and watch the data as it comes in.
Exactly. And this really kind of reinforces the point that Alec was making in the previous session, that practice makes perfect, and just be sure that you're constantly improving upon the next listing. You're practicing, and practice makes perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, I've been asking every guest this. What is your most important piece of advice for this specific session?
If I had one takeaway, it would be that consistency compounds. So build on your momentum as you go, keep learning, and most importantly, make sure that you are taking consistent action along the way from what you learn. That consistent learning constantly will add up over time, all of those little things. And so when you see those signs of progress, when you see those clues of success, follow them and keep going.
And where can our viewers learn more from you?
Primarily on my channel at Simply POD with Mandy, as well as my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today, Mandy. Definitely go check out her stuff. So we kind of got a taste of statistics, views, and visits, but we're going to go even deeper with sales metrics now with Julia from Shopify Success.